Now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
For 42 years, he has terrorized this town. Tonight, it ends.
We need to stop this mother...
We need a plan of attack. We have to get these people out of town.
How can he still be alive?
This is Officer Williams. Our night isn't over yet.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and today we start that road to the finale, and we're going to discuss 2018's Halloween, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Judy Greer, Will Patton, Andy Matichak, James Jude Courtney, Nick Castle, Rian Reed, and Jefferson Hall. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. As I said in the introduction, today begins that final haul, that last bit of the journey to get to Halloween Ends. But before we can get to the end, we've got to pick back up at the new continuation. That's right, here we are, another timeline. The original 1978 Halloween, all the way into this, the 2018 Halloween, or as some people like to call it, H40, as it takes place 40 years after the events of the original film. And our movie opens on October 29th, 2018, as the infamous serial killer, Michael Myers, who has been institutionalized at the Smiths Grove Psychiatric Hospital for 40 years, following his killing spree in Haddonfield, Illinois in 1978, is being prepared for transfer to a maximum security prison. Two true crime podcasters, Aaron Corey and Dana Haynes, visit the hospital, and during their encounter, Aaron displays the mask that Michael wore back in 1978 to him, but to no effect. Meanwhile, back in Haddonfield, Laurie Strode, the only survivor of Michael's killing spree back in 1978, lives in rigid fear of him to this day. She now drinks heavily and rarely leaves her heavily fortified house. She has a strained relationship with her daughter Karen, whom the state of Illinois took away from her when Karen was only 12 years old. Allison, Laurie's granddaughter, does try to maintain a relationship with her grandmother, and on the night of October 30th, as Michael is transferred, the bus crashes and patients begin to wander the road. The accident causes a father and son to stop and see what is going on, but Michael murders them both and takes their truck and returns to Haddonfield. On the morning of October 31st, Michael sees Aaron and Dana visiting the grave of his sister, Judith Myers. He follows them to a gas station where he kills them both, as well as a mechanic for his coveralls, before recovering his mask from Aaron's car. Deputy Frank Hawkins, who arrested Michael back in 1978, tries to convince Sheriff Barker that Michael is dangerous after learning that he has escaped Smith's Grove. Laurie also learns of Michael's escape and attempts to warn Karen, but Karen dismisses her concerns, urging Laurie to move on with her life. Later that night, Allison finds her boyfriend, Cameron, cheating on her at a costume party and leaves with his friend, Oscar. Meanwhile, while babysitting a boy named Julian, Allison's best friend, Vicky, and her boyfriend, Dave, are killed by Michael. Deputy Hawkins and Laurie overhear the incident on the radio and go over to the house. Laurie then sees Michael face to face for the first time in 40 years and shoots him in the shoulder before he flees. The police then take Laurie, Karen, and her husband, Ray, to Laurie's home for protection, and a squad car remains outside the residence. Deputy Hawkins promises to find Allison and bring her to be with the family. Dr. Ranbir Sartain, Michael's psychiatrist and a former student of Dr. Samuel Loomis, persuades Sheriff Barker to help in the hunt for Michael. Meanwhile, As Allison and Oscar walk home from the party, Michael kills Oscar, but Hawkins and Sartain arrive just in time to rescue Allison. Deputy Hawkins then tries to kill Michael, but Dr. Sartain, who has become obsessed with Michael's enigmatic motivations, attacks and leaves Hawkins for dead. It is then revealed that he orchestrated Michael's escape in order to try and study him in the wild. Dr. Sartain then heads towards Laurie's home with an unconscious Michael and Allison locked in the back seat together. Michael wakes up and kills Dr. Sartain while Allison flees from the scene. Michael then ambushes and kills 2 police officers that are outside of Laurie's home. When Ray goes outside to greet who he believes are the 2 officers, Michael strangles him to death. Laurie manages to get Karen to safety before she engages in a showdown with Michael, where Laurie severely injures Michael, but he stabs her in the abdomen and pushes her over a balcony. When Michael goes to check on Laurie's body, he finds it missing, very reminiscent of their first encounter decades ago. Karen pretends to break down in tears and calls out for her mother, luring Michael out and allowing her to shoot him in the jaw. Laurie suddenly reappears and attacks Michael, trapping him inside of the safe room with Karen and Allison's help. The trio then sets the house ablaze, and Laurie says goodbye to Michael before she begins to faint and lets her daughter and granddaughter quickly hitchhike a passerby vehicle to take her to the hospital. A final shot of the burning basement is shown, with Michael nowhere in sight. In a post-credits scene, Michael's breathing is heard, indicating that he has survived as our movie comes to its end. When it comes to the 2018 reboot of Halloween, I'm a mixed bag with this. On one hand, I like the storytelling. I like how there's not as many kills, not just in this movie, but in this whole timeline as a whole. There's not as many kills, and it's a lot more story focused and driven. The flip side of that coin, I feel like it moves too slow. I feel like there's not enough action and movement to get us from place to place. Not that I have a problem with long-term storytelling, as we always talk about here and on the Dads, and even on open mic nights sometimes. I've got nothing against long-term storytelling. But if you're going to be more story-driven, you need to keep the pace flowing. You can't have too many lulls, otherwise you bore the audience. I feel like some of the kills were a little bit too brutal, much as my beef with the Rob Zombie films that we discussed over the last 2 days. But it's also 40 years later. There's more of a reason now for Michael to be so brutal. He's been locked in Smith's Grove for 40 years. He's got all this pent-up rage and frustration. So I can understand why he's a little bit more brutal this time around. That makes sense. Still, not my cup of tea, but at least there's logistical reasoning behind it. You know what I mean? As opposed to the zombie version. I was ecstatic to see Jamie Lee back. Obviously, she is the face of the Halloween franchise, considering Michael is a mask. I liked the addition of Will Patton as the sheriff here, as Hawkins. Will Patton I had seen prior in Armageddon. That's the movie I always go back to when I think of him. I think of him as part of Bruce Willis's crew in Armageddon. And it's cool to see him in this. I thought James Jude Courtney did an amazing job as Michael. And we even got Nick Castle back for, I believe, 1 kill as Michael, and he was also the breathing of Michael. The original Shape played a piece in this as well. So I thought that was cool. All in all, though, I feel like while the storytelling was good, it just moved too slow for me. But it was still decent enough. When it comes to my rating for this, I give the 2018 Halloween 3 out of 5 stars. If the story pace had moved a little bit quicker, I feel like this very easily could have been up to a 4-star. Wasn't going to be 5, but I feel like it could have at least jumped up to a 4-star if the pacing beats had been a little bit better. What do you guys think? Let me know. If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over here. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. But let's have that conversation, that discussion, that debate, that interaction in the comments below as we conclude the road to Halloween here with today and 2 days left, y'all. But before we get to all that, make sure you tune in later this evening, right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, as well as over on the Jeff Meacham Network and across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media, as it'll be time to once again present Open Mic Night. Myself, Noah Foster, and whoever else decides to come into the studio, step up to the mic this week, is more than welcome to join us tonight on Open Mic Night. And then tomorrow will be time to once again step into the war zone. That's right, another edition of the Weekly Acquisition Report, where I, the Renegade, show you, the viewers, the latest additions to my ever-growing movie library. And then immediately following that tomorrow, it'll be another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews as I take a look at Halloween Kills, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Judy Greer, Will Patton, Andy Matichak, Anthony Michael Hall, Dylan Arnold, Charles Cyphers, James Jude Courtney, and Nick Castle. And of course, all this leads up to Halloween, when Halloween finally ends. But oh no, it won't just be me. It's a Dad's on Wrestling review, as Jeff Meacham will join me Monday for my review of Halloween Ends. You're not going to want to miss out on any of that content right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, on the Jeff Meacham Network, across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media. Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends, Open Mic Night, The War Zone. So much content is coming over just these last couple of days. So you want to make sure you tune in and see it all. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that notification bell is turned on. That way you don't miss out any time a video drops right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, or anytime we go live, as is the case with Open Mic Night, Statboy Sports Bar, pay-per-view PLE coverage, etc. Share this video with your family, friends, loved ones, co-workers, movie fanatics, cinephiles, fans of John Carpenter, fans of the Halloween saga, fans of Jamie Lee Curtis. Anybody you can think of that would enjoy this video and this content, share my video with them. It's the only way we're going to get me boosted up in YouTube's algorithms so I can eventually get monetized and make some money on these endeavors. Thank you once again to everyone who tuned in and joined me here today. It means more to me than you'll ever know. And I will see you guys next time.